What's up, everybody? It's your favorite controversial, subjective nerd, Robert Boneface. I'm here to talk to you about...
Knock off. Get out of my seat. What's up, everybody? Don't worry, I got the imposter out of here. Kidding, it's my buddy Joe, and it was actually his idea. Let's continue on, though. A couple things I want to say straight away. For one, we won't be doing a reaction to TFCon because I pretty much liked everything I saw, and those reaction videos are only funny if I get to trash something. I know that's terrible to say, but you know, it's the God's honest truth, and sometimes the truth is hard to swallow. So to speak, ladies and gents. Relax. There's something I want to say before we get started. This is a video about a very controversial subject, and it is going to upset a great many people, I would imagine, only playing off the sensitive sensibilities of many. Let me be clear. You buy what you like. You earn the money, you spend it how you feel. This is my opinion on the topic, and I'm going to give you some information to back my opinion and support my opinion. How you ultimately choose to do business with your money is your business. This is mine. Let's define knockoffs, at least by Webster's definition, which is a copy of something that sells for less than the original, or a copy of something that is popular. I'm going to get back to the definition of KO later. But we're talking about something that is almost an imitation of something else. This plays a great part in explaining the difference between third party and KO, which it seems as though people don't understand the difference. So I'm going to use two examples, and hopefully these examples will be easy to digest. I draw pictures. My dad won't put them on the fridge anymore, but somehow I'm able to get over it because I'm a man with strong willpower. But I draw and I sell those pictures. I wonder if my wife will put it on the fridge. Doesn't matter. Those pictures that I draw are my own interpretations of characters that are owned by someone else, whether it be Hasbro, Warner Brothers, Disney, etc. But it is my take on those characters, and it is my imagination that is creating those images. And then I sell those images. And that is a third-party piece. If I was doing the same thing, but I was tracing, let's say Batman, a Jim Lee Batman piece, and I was tracing it on tracing paper and then selling that, that would be a knockoff. That is a distinguishable difference between the two. One I am creating based on what someone else owns. We'll circle back to that. But I am creating the mood, the image, the vibe, the ambiance, and the way that that piece may or may not make you feel is totally done by how I have arranged, posed, inked, drawn, colored that image of a character that doesn't belong to me. But I played an active role in how it affected you. If I were to just trace it, it could look pretty. It could look good on your wall. But ultimately, I'm just copying what someone else has already done and would probably make you feel the same way. That is the difference. One can't exist without the other. That's the knockoff in terms of actual property. When we get to intellectual property, trust me, we'll cover it. The other is an original interpretation. That's the difference. Did I lose you? Let's hope not. But let me continue. Another thing that KOs do that third party doesn't really do is it confuses the consumer. Or at least it can. Let me give you an example. Takasa Tomy. Takasa Tomy's packaging, likeness, everything is almost identical to the original release. Therefore, it can not only confuse the buyer into which piece to buy, but it can also confuse the buyer in terms of brand recognition and commitment to the brand later on. Example. You buy a Takasa Tomy product being new to the game. It doesn't perform the way that you want it to. You write off Takara Tomy thinking that that's what you have. That damages that brand because of a consumer confusion created by this knockoff company. Now, where this gets tricky is with the whole intellectual property discussion. Is third party using intellectual property that they are not allowed to use? Absolutely. Is that the same thing as stealing a mold and design? Not really. It's a bit more complicated. For one, you're not talking about something that was created and somebody came along and took the 3D physical object. You're talking about something that wasn't created, and someone came along and created it. I think we've seen in the most recent months that Takara can stop a third-party company from prospering anytime they want by just releasing the products that people want. It's a supply and demand situation. The demand is there and there's no supply, creating a gap in the market that someone else is capitalizing off of. Is it all on the up and up? Of course not. Is it the same thing as stealing a mold? Not in the least. And we'll talk about intellectual property specifically. My buddy Adam, who is also here today, co-host of Nerd Rage along with Joe, once said something profound to me, that when an artist creates something in a way, they don't own it anymore. It belongs to the people. Let me give you an example of where this really rings true. Star Wars Special Editions. I'm a fan, but I apologize for all of it. Star Wars Special Edition changes who shot first in the cantina. It changes the dynamic of both the character of Han Solo and it changes the dynamic of the character of Greedo. It pisses people off. It irritates people. It's become a cultural phenomenon of Han shot first meaning more than what it actually means. The reason why that upsets so many people is because Star Wars belongs to them. That's how they see and feel it. And someone has come along and made those changes and it makes you feel like you're not in control of something that you love now. So that's more of I'd say a philosophical point of view in regard to it. The other thing though is this. How long should someone own the intellectual rights and copyrights to something that they create? Before you jump to conclusions and say forever, let me explain to you why people own them for so long. And it has something to do with one fella.
According to Art Law Journal, when the Copyright Act was first enacted in the United States, the copyright duration was only 14 years. Today, copyright duration can last over a century in some cases. Why such a drastic change? Some say is all due to the cute little mouse named Mickey. Copyright duration had some changes over the 125 years before Mickey Mouse. In the Copyright Act of 1790, the 14-year term was renewable for an additional 14-year term if the author was alive at the end of the first 14 years. And it only applied to maps, charts, and books. Registration and use of a copyright notice were also required. If you didn't meet those requirements, the work immediately entered into the public domain. By 1831, it was changed to 28 years with a 14-year renewal, and in 1909, copyright duration became 28 years with a 28-year renewal. Very few folks actually maintain those copyright durations, as only a small percentage of people even bothered to register copyrights in the first place. And of those that did, only a tiny fraction renewed them. Enter Steamboat Willie, the first Mickey Mouse cartoon and the first animated short by Walt Disney in 1928. Under the 1909 copyright scheme, the Mickey Mouse character had copyright protection for 56 years with a renewal, expiring in 1984. With its impending loss of copyright on its mascot, Disney is said to have begun serious lobbying push for changes to the Copyright Act. In 1976, Congress authorized a major overhaul of the copyright system, assuring Disney extended protection. Instead of the maximum of 56 years with extensions, individual authors were granted protection for their life plus an additional 50 years, which was the norm in Europe. For works authored by corporations, the 1976 legislation is also granted a retroactive extension for works published before the new system took effect. The maximum term for already published works was lengthened from 56 years to 75 years, pushing Mickey protection out to 2003. Anything published in 1922 or before was in public domain. Anything after that may still be under copyright. With only 5 years left on Mickey Mouse's copyright term, Congress again changed the duration with the Sonny Bono copyright term extension of 1998. This legislation lengthens copyrights for works created on or after January 1st, 1978 to the life of the author plus 70 years, and extends copyrights for corporate works to 95 years from the year of first publication, or 120 years from the year of creation, whichever expires first. That pushed Mickey's copyright protection out to 2023. This chart illustrates the Mickey Mouse curve, showing how copyright duration has changed close to each time Mickey Mouse is about to expire. Not everybody has been happy about these changes due to our inability to use old work to create new artistic works. One author noted that we are the first generation to deny our own culture to ourselves. No work created during your lifetime will, without conscious action by its creator, become available for you to build upon. Disney now has until 2023 to figure out how to extend that date once again. In 5 years or so, we can probably expect to see stories about proposed changes to copyright duration once again. It is unlikely that a company as strong as Disney will sit by and allow Steamboat Willie to enter the public domain.
Cash rules everything around me. Case in point. Many artistic works have only worked because people have been able to build off of them for generations. Mickey Mouse is changing that game. Do you think that Mickey Mouse is going to become public domain in 2023? If you do, you are a simpleton. They're never going to let it go. And this has changed the way that we see things. And characters changed from when they were first created. The Batman that we know now isn't the Batman that came about in the 40s. The Superman that we know now certainly isn't the Superman that came about in the 30s. And backstabbing, human-killing Optimus Prime from the Bayverse is certainly not the one that was in the G1 cartoon. Characters change. It changes the dynamics of who they are, and it changes the company's corporate interest into how they portray them. A lot of collectors in our demographic, with our level of disposable income, that are buying the pieces that I'm regularly talking about on this channel, are not interested in representations of that character that seem to have gone astray from how we knew them. With that being said, those more recent representations are appealing to a new generation. And that generation doesn't have the disposable income to buy what we want. Therefore, Hasbro cannot create in good judgment characters and representations that we are interested in. So what happens to our demands as consumers? They're left unattended, unless we have third party. So in a way, third party only exists because of corporate greed and protection to protect intellectual rights for well over what most of us would consider to be a sensible and responsible amount of time for one company to own the rights to all of a character. And this is a phenomenon created by one company, a company that is now creating my favorite thing in the world. So where does that leave me? Luckily, okay, because Lucasfilm will license the property out to other companies that are making collectibles for my demographic with my sensibilities. Hasbro is not. And then you have this open black hole, so to speak, of a gap of products that people want to purchase but aren't allowed to because the product isn't there. And that's where third party comes into play. Unlike a knockoff, which is only creating something because someone else has already created it, physically. So I don't have the time to really debate with everyone whether or not infringement laws are reasonable. But I will say, in my opinion, and I think most sensible people's opinion, not a judgment, judge free space. You think how you want, my little chickadees. But I think we have to establish a difference between infringement on a concept and infringement on a product itself. Case in point, is this infringing on the character? Absolutely. It's completely recognizably Grimlock. But it's its own creative product from that character. Whereas this is not. This only exists because an official existed. Whereas this is a creative interpretation conceptually of something that already exists. So, what's the issue? The issue is the negative impact that KO has on companies, both official and unofficial. Aside from the brand confusion and consumer confusion, KOs throughout history have been known to create issues for companies. We'll use North Face as an example. North Face at one time had a huge knockoff issue. What happened? They ended up driving prices up, and some would argue quality was lost to stay competitive with companies that were ripping off what they were doing. Ultimately, North Face had to sell to Vanity Fair just to stay afloat. So now the company that was North Face is no longer in control of North Face. It's something different. Is it bad or good? I don't know. All you yuppies standing in the Starbucks line can tell me with your mocha latte bullshit. But think about how it can negatively impact our community. People already complain about the prices of third party. I, more than anyone, already criticize about the quality of third party. In order to stay competitive with these knockoff companies that are springing up left and right, you will see prices go up juxtaposed against the quality going down. Meaning, the bottom line may stay similar, but you're still paying a higher price for a less premium product. And that's for them to stay competitive with somebody that's already ripping them off. These knockoffs are coming out a lot faster than they used to. And from what I hear, both from designers and people inside the industry, is that it's having a severe negative impact on the industry. Now, do you think once again, no judgments, that these third-party companies that own factories are using Transformer toys as their primary source of production. If you do, you might be mistaken. It doesn't make sense. I think anybody with any sort of logic and reason should be able to deduct that most of these companies that own their own factories are probably producing something much more higher volume than these passion projects that are coming out in the third-party world. I don't pretend to know what they are, although some of them I do know what they are. But let's say, as an example, that you have a factory that creates stuff like this, but you're a big Transformer fan, so then you create Transformers at your own factory. That is more likely what is happening with these companies that own factories than not. Now, there are also companies that don't own factories, and their prices are obviously going to be higher because their production costs are higher to contract out these factories in order to produce their product. Meaning, a significant portion of these companies can stop making third-party altogether and financially be fine. Now, am I saying they're doing us a favor? Kind of. But I'm also saying, if you're anti-third party and you're celebrating KO companies hurting them, they're not. They're going to keep on making plastic rulers with no problem. The only people who it negatively affects are fellow collectors that want to buy third-party products to celebrate characters and representations on their shelves of a franchise that they love, but wouldn't have an opportunity to otherwise. The other negative impact that we got to talk about is that we have to take responsibility as a collector community for the success of KOs. Ultimately, if we stop buying them, they'll stop making them. So any negative impact that KO companies end up having on the franchise across the board, whether it be official or unofficial, is ultimately your fault. And my fault a little bit. And that's from a collector standpoint, let alone the aftermarket. How many KOs have sunk the price of unofficial products and official products? How many times have you seen on a message board, in a Facebook forum, in a tweeter list? I don't even know what that is. To be honest with you, between you and I still don't get Twitter conceptually. Where you see someone say, I'll wait for the KO. A lot. You see I'll wait for the KO. You even see I'll wait for the official. Rarely would you see I'll wait for the 3P. But which one of those is directly hurting another one? Do you see Bad Cube sinking the sales of Sunstreaker that's coming out? No. You see Bad Cube's Sunsurge going on sale left and right. So nobody got hurt there. 3P's Sunstreaker came out, sold out, made their money. The Takara one comes out, everybody sells their Sunstreaker for $10 and a Twinkie, and everybody made their money. The only difference is if the KO product comes out and now you have a direct competing piece at a much lower price. Is the quality lower? That's a separate conversation. I know some of the KOs are getting better and we'll get there. But what I'm ultimately saying is this thing ends up becoming a snake eating itself. If Takara tomorrow decides to stop making Masterpiece figures, third party will continue. If third party tomorrow decides to stop making Masterpiece figures, Takara will continue. If third party sinks and Masterpiece figures decide they stop being made by Takara, the knockoffs have no choice but to die because they can't do it on their own. They need to live off of another company, much like a parasite. It is nihilism. And I do love the Stunticons, but I have to draw the line somewhere. So let's talk quality very briefly. For instance, these knockoff Seekers. I have handled one. It was Jisk's. Shout out to Jisk. Felt way better than the official. Argument here is not about quality. It doesn't matter, ultimately. What matters to me is that how they negatively impact the things that I know I love. I love Takara Masterpiece. I love Transformers. I love third party. And KOs are the only ones that hurt all three of the things that I love across the board. So will I admit that some BB-8 knockoff of some Seeker is better than the official? Absolutely. Any day of the week. I have no problem doing that. I've criticized the Takara Seekers openly. But I will never celebrate something that's directly hurting ultimately the concept that I love. Some will say the third party does that. I would disagree. I don't know of any third-party company that's coming out with something that Takara Masterpiece is coming out with that people are getting the third party over the Takara Masterpiece for the most part. I don't know of any third-party company that has ever created anything that Hasbro's Chug Generation stuff is creating that people have just gone all in on the third party and not bought the Hasbro. I own Hasbro products only because third party made me love Transformers again. Think about that. Hasbro would have gotten none of my money had something that infringed on their intellectual property not happened. Because it was third party that excited me about Transformers again. And I know many people out there that sing the same song. So, when is it okay to buy KO? In my opinion, never. My personal opinion, those that buy KOs instead of buying official, whether that official is official or unofficial, if you catch my drift, are simply playing make-believe. You don't have Feral Rex. You have a cardboard cutout of a friend. I understand that all this stuff nostalgically goes back to our childhood, but you're the only one still playing make-believe. And you're playing make-believe that what you have is what you think you have. And the truth is, that's not what you have. It's pride, ladies and gents. So for me, I want it out of here. And it's not the only thing I want out of here. Any grown man that says I'm going to use the little boy's room when they have to go to the bathroom, get them out of here. People that say potty, enough. I don't even tell my kids that. I say use the bathroom. If you're buying a pizza from Domino's, Pizza Hut, Little John's, Papa John's, whatever that thing is, and Lito's, any chain pizza restaurant, you don't get to call it a pizza pie, Mac. That thing is just a pizza. If you are not Italian and you are under the age of 40, you don't get to say gravy. It's tomato sauce. Get out of here. People that reach for your food as they're asking if they can have some. Don't like it. Get it out of here. Men that use tanning booths. Look at yourself. Oh, and while we're on that subject, men that shave their butt cheeks. Think about it. The only way it's okay that you shave your butt cheeks is if your father knows. People that have strong political opinions about the economy and don't pay for their own car insurance because mommy and daddy are still around. Get out of here. Now, there's one group of people I want to stick around, and that's old men in nursing homes. Have you ever seen these people? They're like pimps. I don't mean pimps. I mean pimps. They've got like 30 old chicks around them all the time because they're such like men don't live that long. So all these old single women are just flocking to them. And I got respect for that. People that take engagement photos. You're not Kim Kardashian, Mac. You're the stock boy at Toys R Us. Relax. Grown men that use the word cute or drive Mini Coopers. Oh, and what if they said, look at my cute Mini Cooper? Can you imagine? People that use the word bae, I don't even want to hear the body of water referred to it as that anymore. You gotta call that Little Ocean. People that wear winter hats in the summer. You're making my head sweat, Mac. Ugh. Anyone on social media that needs a recommendation and then ends it with, and go. Yeah, I'm looking for a really nice barbecue place near such and such. Any recommendations? And go. Yeah. So, basically, I just wanted to lighten the mood a little bit. Anyway, what this comes down to are two things. Does the collector community have the maturity, discipline, and patience to abstain from KOs in order to not hurt the things that they love? Two, to circle back to the definition of knockoff, what if they change 5%? What if they change 10%? What if they change 30%? I don't know, buddy. It's like pornography. I don't know if I can define it, but I know it when I see it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.
Hey, but Bobby, are recasts okay?
Nobody plays that's watching this.
But hey, Bobby, are recasts okay?
Look, the conversation's over, all right? I'm not talking about it anymore.
But hey, Bobby, how about recast 40K stuff?
Look, I don't know what your retirement plans are, okay? But not everybody that's listening to this has a 40K.
Hey, Bobby, what about recast Warhammer stuff?
Warhammer? Is that a penis innuendo?
Hey, Bobby, how about Forge World recast?
This X-Men thing is officially out of control. He's got his own world now.
Hey, Bobby, what about recast models?
Models? What am I, a nerd?